I knew a mutual friend of theirs, and when I was in Oz, I was sort of keeping my ear to the ground a little bit about what was happening in the world of metal, like what bands I could potentially relocate to another country and join, be it the States or be it the UK. And I had seen that they had just put Corazon out, and I think they toured the States, and that was when Paul had left. So I pretty much just cold called Jason and said, I'm a guitarist, I can play your stuff, I'm on Earache, I've toured, I'm friends with these people whom you know, I'm going to be there anyway, because I'd actually already bought a ticket to come to the UK because I had the passport, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I just bought my flight.
Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode 180 of Into the Necrosphere. This week, not only am I sporting sunglasses to protect you from the sight of my inflamed eyelid, something called blepharitis that I've picked up. It's hopefully going to be gone inside of the next couple of days. But I figured rather than postpone the episode, for those of you guys watching this on YouTube, I'll wear the sunglasses. If the guy from Metal Trenches can get away with it, then so can I. And I would not have wanted to delay this episode by a week or even a day, because I promised you last week that I had something exciting up my sleeve, and I do believe that I have delivered something rather epic. Myself and my good friend Matt Wilcock caught up on the mean streets of Kingston-Upon-Thames on the outskirts of London, my old stomping grounds, this past weekend, and we spoke all about his bands, Werewolves, the Antichrist Imperium, ABRAMELIN and SHOTGUN MISTRESS. We also spoke about his time in AKERCOCKE, and we spoke about what motivates him as a musician at this stage of his life, at this stage of his career. Great catching up with him, as you can imagine. He is a much requested guest, and of course I know the bands that he's in are much beloved by the legions, so I knew when he came to visit that I needed to get him on the show as soon as possible. Before we get to that though, last week I played a band called Salt, who appear on a split EP with another band called Obsidian Shrine. That EP is called Consortium in Diaboli. The other band, Obsidian Shrine, I misnamed last week. I called them Ophidian Shrine, and for that I apologize profusely, but I do not apologize for the fact that I'm about to unleash upon you one of Obsidian Shrine's finest moments off of that split EP. This is a song called Ubiquitous Opposition. That was Ubiquitous Opposition by Obsidian Shrine off the Split EP Consortium in Diaboli, also featuring Salt, who I featured on last week's show, but great record, inexplicably independent, which is why I chose to show them some love on Into the Necrosphere, and I will post the link to Obsidian Shrine's Bandcamp in the description to the podcast, so make sure that you head over there, buy yourself some music, and let them know that it was old Jackson at Into the Necrosphere that sent you. My friends, if you're new to the podcast, but you like what you hear, make sure that you elbow drop the subscribe button on your platform of choice, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Apple. Leave me a like, a comment, a share. Thank you so much for those 5-star reviews that are coming streaming in. And thank you especially to those of you who I see week in and week out sharing my content, helping get the word out. This podcast is going from strength to strength, and it is largely thanks to the effort of the legions. I really, really appreciate that, and I would hope that you show the same love and support to my fellow horsemen of the podcast apocalypse. On a Monday, Brandon Legion brings you Horrible 666, where he interviews writers, directors, producers, and other luminaries working in the horror genre. Every Tuesday, there's yours truly casting hexes and slaying poses on Into the Necrosphere. Next week, my guests are going to be Church of the Dead. You'll remember last week's episode, I spoke about their new album, Beyond Death, so great to get them on the podcast talking about that album. Every Wednesday, Sensei Mike Hill brings you his long-running podcast, Everything Went Black, where he talks to a sinister smorgasbord of guests, everyone from artists to musicians to writers to MMA fighters. Great show and always very thought-provoking and entertaining. He returns on a Thursday with my favorite podcast of the week, Necromaniacs, where alongside his co-hosts Jeff Kashid and Mike Scandado, he reviews new and classic horror movies. And then every Sunday, the Reverend Carl Haikara takes you on a deep dive down the weird, the arcane, and the esoteric with his podcast, Soul Knocks. Stick around straight after my conversation with Matt, because I will be talking about the new Necrofier record, and then I also have a very special guest co-host for my weekly news rant, somebody who I think you guys will recognize quite instantly and who's been requested by the legions many times over. So stick around for that. We're going to listen to some music, we're going to talk some trash, and we're going to have us a jolly good time. Speaking of jolly good times, I had a great time with my friend Matt, and you're about to find out all about it right after this. So, mate, great to see you on the mean streets of Kingston. We just had lunch.
Yep.
Taking you to one of the finest establishments in the United Kingdom, as far as I'm concerned. Yep. How's everything been going? What's brought you to down to the Emerald? Well, not the Emerald Isle, the British Isles.
Basically, just we've had here with my other half, and we've had a sort of a family visit. I haven't been back here for I think 5 years or something. She came back twice in 2018 and 19. So we had tickets that we had flights booked to come over here like years ago, but obviously fucking COVID happened and it ruined everything. So when we finally got the refund for those flights, and it was pretty much a good time to come back, and she hadn't seen her family for 5 years, and so just come back and done the right thing, been up north and seen all the nieces and nephews and caught up with a few other people, and it's good. And now back here in Kingston, which is a bit of a spin out, given though I lived here for I think it was 5 years, and it didn't count with when you were here. So we left here the year that you moved here, if that's right. So it's interesting. It's nice to be back. Nice to have gone to Poor Boys to eat. Full thumbs up.
Good. How long were you in the UK for in total?
10 years.
And what was the catalyst to bring you over here originally?
So I did a lot of traveling when I was younger, mostly with the Berserker, all around the world. And pretty much when I got back to Australia, I found life just kind of boring, sort of just slotted back into mundanity, you know. Australia, especially back then, it's like we're talking nearly 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
Australia was just a quiet place, and as from Sunday through to Thursday, there was nothing happening in a social sort of sense. There were no shows. Pubs it's a different vibe in Oz compared to England. England's very much a pub culture. All of the pubs are nice, and, you know, be it classy or at least got a bit of character. Australia doesn't have that. And when I got back there after a roller coaster of being on tour and traveling, it was just it's like someone pulled the plug out of the socket, and life just wasn't exciting. I had bands which I'd tried to do things with. None of them particularly succeeded. So through contacts that I had and the fact that I could get a British passport, I sort of woke up one day and just said, I'll come to the UK. And yeah, it was good. It was a 10-year. I said to myself at the start it would be 10 years. That was just sort of talk more than anything. But in hindsight, it was pretty much 10 years to the day. So, you know, joined AC, got a proper job, you know, met my other half. It's just sort of had a bit of a life here. And then it got to a point where things just, I couldn't get any further. Like, I wasn't playing in AC, which was all good. That was just a product of the circumstances at the time. Everything was fine, but it just wasn't for me anymore. And then after a couple of years of just living and working and plodding along, I'd been back to Oz a few times on holiday and to do music with people. And it was the right time to go home. So 10 years here, and then went home with a qualification, like work-wise, which was good. So I'd spent the last 5 years, the last 7 years being here, as well as doing a lot of music stuff. I was also, I got a qualification with work, and that put me in good stead when I went back to Oz. I carried on doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah. How long in total were you in AKERCOCKE for? It's about 6 years, right?
I think 6 years. Yeah. A pretty hefty sort of 5-year period of albums and work and recording and playing shows. And then again, just sort of, I think life circumstances for various people made it slow down at the time. Yeah. Which is perfectly normal. So, yeah, 5 years well spent. It was good.
How did that come about? How did you end up with joining the band?
I knew a mutual friend of theirs, and when I was in Oz, I was sort of keeping my ear to the ground a little bit about what was happening in the world of metal, like what bands I could potentially relocate to another country and join. Yeah. Be it the States or be it the UK. And I had seen that they had just put Coronzon out, and I think they toured the States, and that was when Paul had left. So I pretty much just cold called Jason and said, I'm a guitarist, I can play your stuff, I'm on Earache, I've toured, I'm friends with these people whom you know, I'm going to be there anyway, because I'd actually already bought a ticket to come to the UK because I had the passport, and I was like, what the hell? Yeah. So I just bought my flight, and
so the AKERCOCKE thing, that was already in the offing before you'd moved to the UK?
Yeah. But I had bought my one-way flight, so I was already committed to leaving Australia to sort of pursue music. And it was after I bought that one-way flight, that's when I found out about AC and made contact with Jason at the time. And, sort of got the ball rolling, sort of had a bit of a chat and the odd phone call just to sort of gauge each other, I guess. Yeah. And came over and things were good. We had we did a one-off show just to sort of see how we gelled together, I guess. More on a personal level, I guess, than the musical at the time. And it was cool. They were great guys, and I think we got along reasonably well. And it was a good period of my life, you know. Probably in good stead for what I do musically now as well. Like,
I mean, so I got into the band with Corentin. And I did always feel like when you joined, you seemed to be a really natural fit for the band, and you actually, like, I always felt like you had elevated the band when you joined. And I think, when I had David on, he more or less intimated the same thing. You were kind of you had a certain approach to write, a certain severity to your writing that you brought to the table. And I mean, I know he, for example, really appreciates and really enjoys that. And it's evident on, the records that you did with him, Words Ago Unspoken and Antichrist. But yeah, I guess you didn't have to audition for them or anything like that.
Not really, but I didn't officially sort of necessarily get the gig straight away.
Yeah.
It's like I turned up and we jammed a bit, and then we booked that one-off show. It was in Germany, I think. And so I went for a weekend away, and then it was kind of official, I guess. It was like, you're in the band, it's cool, things are going well, we sort of work. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could sort of say I had the gig straight away, but it was dependent on personalities and, just turning up and being able to actually play the material and all the rest of it. So it was in the bag, but it wasn't really official for a little bit.
Did it feel like a natural fit for you? Did you feel like you're going to slot in really quickly?
It was a pretty tumultuous sort of time of life for me, because I'd come over here and I was staying with a friend who I knew, and I was sleeping in a fucking blow-up mattress in his spare room, which was tiny. And getting the train to rehearsals, it was fucking winter, it was freezing. And I'd come home after rehearsal and I'd lie in this fucking mattress looking at the ceiling, and it's cold. I'm like, fucking hell, what am I doing here? I don't know if this is... I didn't have a job at the time, so the bank account was fucking just slowly
rapidly depleting.
Yeah. But, I think it's the fact that we were... And they were quite a heavy rehearsing band at the time. Like they would rehearse like three, 4, maybe even 5 times a week. Like, let's say 3 times during the week and then once on the weekend as well, maybe more. And when I was working, I couldn't necessarily do all the rehearsals that they were doing, but it was good. I think I slotted in quite well, and I was quite into sort of the work ethic that they had.
Yeah.
So I'd never really been in a band I'd certainly never been in a band that rehearsed as much as they did. And it was a new direction of creativity for me as well. Like, and what I've taken from that band, like I say, is completely changed how I write music and how I play, and also how I think about music and how a band sort of works. So entirely positive, great time. I'm very happy to have spent 5-6 years in that band and know those guys.
I mean, you also joined them, when they were in the ascendancy. Like, I remember how much anticipation there was for Words Ago Unspoken. And again, me personally, I remember hearing that record for the first time and being just gobsmacked. I thought it was one of the most, it was and still is one of my favorite records ever. Corentin, I would say, is probably my favorite album of all time. I feel about Corentin the way you feel about Panzer Division Martyr. It's like that to me. It captures everything I love about music on one record. Yeah. I thought the last Antichrist Imperium came pretty close too.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that album. And I think the good thing with that last Antichrist album is that's a real sort of amalgamation of what everyone does. So that's, I think, as far as all my contributions to that, it's probably the, dare I say it, the most sophisticated sort of writing that I've done. And equally as important as that is that 40% of the riffs, maybe 50, but I'd say 40% of the riffs and the guitar sort of orientated music is Sam's as well.
Yeah.
And if it's not
Sam Bean,
yeah. So he wrote, I think that's 7 or 8 songs on that album. He would have written 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And we worked a lot on them together. So it was a real sort of team effort in that sort of sense. And same with the other two. Like, Dave has a lot of sort of compositional and arrangement and sort of embellishment ideas, which happen, like obviously he does the drums, but further to that, it has a lot to do with, I guess, arrangement. Like we might have a song that's bang, start to finish, and he'll suggest this at the start, that at the end, do this here, change that instrumentation, blah, blah, blah. And also, same with Sam Lyons, like we'll have something and he'll put a whole lot of keyboards or piano over it, or all manner of vocal parts. So that last album, that's definitely my favourite Antichrist album. And maybe even probably my favourite album that I've done over the years. So it's good.
The thing that blew me away the most is hearing that the way that Sam Lyons' vocals happened was he basically did clean vocals for every single song from start to finish, like just did verse, chorus, like whatever vocals there were, he recorded clean vocals for it, and then you guys just picked what you felt worked the best.
Yeah, and it all worked. It was more a matter of we can't have it full of vocals. It's like everything he did sounds great, but it's like, well, you can't have a song that's just start to finish vocals and nothing else.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sort of just removed what was needed arrangement wise. So yeah, very good though, good singer.
Oh, he's fucking incredible. He's got such a natural flair for singing. Like I've told him so many times. He did on his Instagram. He posted a cover of Seal's "Crazy" that he literally just like one Saturday morning he sat in front of his piano and he was playing and he was singing to it. And I was like, this is fucking incredible, because he's recording it with his mobile. So, on a mobile, as like it just a standard mobile recording, it shows up every slight flaw in your voice, and his voice was just completely and utterly tight. No flaw, no mistake, no nothing.
Yep. I think every release he does, he's getting better.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, it's very, very impressed with that. Tell me a bit about some of the memories that you have from being in AKERCOCKE at the time. Was there anticipation of Words Ago and actually, let me rephrase. How much anticipation was there from the band when Words Ago and Spoken came out? Was there a feeling like this was going to be the record that helped the band take things to the next level?
I can't really remember. I don't think anyone necessarily gave it that much thought. It's a long time ago now. I think, and those guys have predominantly written that album already. I sort of had a hand in one song, and little bits and pieces here and there, and leads and whatever. But it's weird. I think my problem with a lot of stuff is that I'm never happy with the fucking mix of an album.
Yeah.
So, that album was cool. It sounded great, but it's not how I would have sort of imagined it. And so when we heard it, I was a little bit like, I kind of would have liked the heavier bits heavier and the mellower bits mellower, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's hard to gauge anything that's your own, and especially something that's not fully sort of mine, because they'd written most of that album already. It was really their album.
Yeah.
That I had a little bit of a part in, but it's hard to sort of explain. It's hard to remember for one, because it's a while ago. But I don't think the band necessarily put that much thought into what was happening and what was going to go on. Everyone loved it, which was great. We went out on the road for it, which was cool. But that's sort of where it wouldn't really necessarily elevate the band much more than
that already was.
It's just a great album that got released. People love it, which is great. Well, quite a lot of people like it, and the world moves on. So I don't know. It's hard to answer that. Same with Antichrist. I've said it a fucking 1,000 times. I hate the production of Antichrist. I can't listen to it. I listened to it recently in the last year, and I had to turn it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just can't.
I feel like time has been quite kind to Antichrist, because if I think about, you know what, I think we might need to move because I don't want to listen to that fucking kid screaming in the background all the time. So we're talking about Antichrist. If I just judge by the Legion and their response to it,
The ever faithful Legion.
yeah, it definitely feels like time has been quite kind to that record. There's a lot of people that over time that record has grown on them, and I sometimes think maybe it's a little bit like my own experience of it is I'd worn out Ghost Mendes, Corentin, and Words Ago Unspoken to such a degree that one day you're listening to Antichrist and you hear like a song like Footsteps Resounding in an Empty Chapel and you go, I never paid that much attention to the song. It's fucking brilliant. So, well, that's one of yours as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's there's a whole lot of things on the album where it's like, for me, everything is 2/3 of the way there. Everything is almost. The songwriting's pretty good, but not amazing. Production's okay. Well, I'm not into it, but people like it. But either way, it's not where it should be. And performances, I don't necessarily think the performances are where they should be. But there was a rush, and it was a moment captured, you know, which is, I think that's maybe part of the charm with some albums, you know.
Well, so I was going to say to you, so like every time I've spoken to you about music, you are like hyper self-critical. Like one of the most, you're probably, you know, and I've spoken to a great many folks for this podcast now, you're probably one of the most self-critical people that I know. But yet somehow you've managed to detach yourself completely from that instinct with Werewolves.
Yeah.
How difficult is that to actually do that? Because it's like, if it's like a natural thing for you to think that way or to be that analytical about your music, how hard is it to write something that the premise of it is just so spontaneous and so kind of focused on, I'm gonna write this as quickly as I possibly can and then just leave it?
I think half of it is the fact that there's a whole lot of people involved in that, in the sense of the other two guys in the band.
Yeah.
Joe mixes it, even Mitchell who does the artwork. So all these people that are involved in that are sort of up there at their respective, you know, sort of professions, if you will. So all I'm going to do is write a song, you know, write a riff, and I can be pretty confident that everyone else is going to do their job extremely well. You know, Dave's going to play drums amazingly, Sam's going to write fucking brilliant lyrics and deliver them brilliantly, and then the production's going to be great. And because it's just caveman music, there's not really too much that can go. It's like, you know, it's kind of like you get the mix, turn it all up to 10, that's it. It's like, what more do you want? Yeah, there's a bit of fine tuning, but I think with time I've sort of maybe over the years I've realised that it's a little bit, you've kind of got to trust the process a little bit, you know, like I don't have to worry about certain people's performances. Like, I know they're going to do a good job, so don't get hung up on, oh, this beat should be that, or that should be this, or you should be singing in this section, or just fucking forget about it. Let someone do their part to the best of their abilities, and if it's someone you work with that you respect, it's going to be good. Yeah. You know? So it's a little bit just letting go of the reins and letting it do its thing.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect example of that band. You know, that's just how that band works, which is why we can just keep doing stuff over and over and over. And also take the piss out of ourselves, because, like, well, of course this album's the same as the fucking last one. It's meant to be the same. Yeah. If anything, it should just be a little bit fucking more stupid than the previous one.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're fucking taking the piss out of yourself with your own lyrics, then what's the fucking press going to do? Oh, you know, this sounds like the last one. Of course it fucking does. It's meant to.
Yeah.
You know? It should AC/DC start fucking playing acoustic songs?
Yeah.
Of course not. You know? It's meant to be what it is, you know? Like, yeah. I'm perfectly happy with AC/DC releasing another rock album.
Yeah.
Equally as much as I'm about Cannibal Corpse releasing another death metal album. Yeah. That's the whole premise of that. You know, it's not right for every band, but it's certainly right for Werewolves.
So you mentioned before that you want to do 10 albums with Werewolves, and would you cut it off at 10 albums and be safe?
I don't think we'd stop, but 10 is the 10's the goal at the minute.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how many we've done now. I think we've done, fucking hell. Yeah, so the 4th one's coming out in the coming months. So, and I think we finished recording the 5th one, except for vocals. And we've got the 6th one written. Yeah. So, 3 more to write, and then that milestone's been set. The only disappointing thing is it's like, we can't release more than 1 a year. So, gotta fucking wait for the label to play the catch-up game. But, yeah, I mean, that's the plan. We'll do 10. I think the other 2 guys are a little bit conscious of their age and their ability to keep doing what they do. I mean...
I know Sam is. I mean, he and I spoke about it on the podcast, but is Dave? I mean, he still sounds like a fucking Gatling gun.
Yeah. I'm sure that he can keep doing what he does for a long time, but he does sort of joke around that it's like he's not going to be fucking 60 years old fucking blasting away.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just... I countered his argument. We talked to him, had a laugh about it one day, and I said, well, you know, when it all gets a little bit too difficult, that's when we'll revert back to Slowly We Rot and do a World Demise album or something. Yeah. So we'll just tone things down.
I think
do a Bolt Throw album.
I think World Demise is fucking great. I don't understand why people hate that album so much. I loved it when it came out. I still love it. There's so much like really just heavy stuff on that record, and I'm a big fan of Bolt Thrower as well. But that aside. One thing I've mentioned on the podcast before about you, and I genuinely mean it, and it's a massive compliment that I'm giving you, but I think one of the things that Werewolves has done for you, at least from my observation, like looking at it from the outside, and you obviously you often share some stuff that you're doing with me. You've developed like a very, very distinct playing style, and it's really come out on Werewolves more so than it's been on any other record. Like it's getting to a point now where you're kind of moving into that rare air of when I hear a riff, I can go, that's a Matt Wilcock riff. In exactly the same way as if I hear a Matt Pike riff, I can go, that's Matt Pike, or I can hear a riff and go, that's Kirk Winstein that's done that riff. That's a pretty cool place to be, and it's as I said, it's rare air, but like your playing style, how has that evolved, and like what I guess what continues to kind of motivate and drive you, because you're like mid-40s now.
Yeah,
but I mean, you're still playing like you're a young buck.
Yeah, I think. Can I just get my jumper? I've left my jumper over there.
Oh yeah, of course, man. Yeah, watch that old lady doesn't steal it.
Forgot my jumper. Cheers. Even in the land of Blighty, I'm still very conscious of getting sunburn on my head. So.
Oh, you used to rock the Mo mullet.
Yeah, well, you get a bit older and your hair goes a little bit thinner, so it's like.
Oh, dude, I've been cursed with this like thin ass hair of mine. I mean, literally since I was. I think my hair just stopped developing when I was about 3. So it's been that thin my whole entire life. The patch I've got on the back, that's enlarged. That's hurting my heart a little bit, but I feel like when I go your direction, I do need to get a little in better shape for that. I don't want to be I don't want to be a fat guy that's bald. I want to look like if I'm going to look like anyone, I'm going to look like Stone Cold Steve Austin and be bald.
There you go. Yeah. So what are you saying? Oh, guitar. Yeah. I think I really like playing guitar. Like, I spend a lot of time practicing, like I'm constantly, some people might think it's a bit boring, but I'm constantly practicing sort of speed stuff, it's just, I like doing it, so why would I not do it? And further to that, I play a lot of blues, I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it, and I try and get a bit better at it as I practice. So, yeah, it's just a thing, I've got the rock band, so that sort of gives me a bit of an outlet with that sort of bluesy rock sort of playing. And, and then just riffing, just making death metal albums, or black metal, a combination of the two. That's just what I do, and I can't stop. Like, I'll never stop. It just doesn't. I can't imagine it. Like I see people that stop like playing guitar, or they say to me, "Oh, I haven't touched a guitar in months." It's like, well, fucking why? Why on earth wouldn't you? You know, like I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
But like your creative muscle doesn't seem to slow down either, though, because I mean, a lot of dudes I know in bands, I'll talk to them and I'll be like, they'll bring up Werewolves to me, and I'm like, I can't fucking believe how much Matt writes. I'm like, I don't know either. He just seems to always have something ready to go.
Yeah, and it's quite funny because further to like, a bunch of people know about Werewolves, but funnily enough, I've got other albums that I've written or that are in the pipeline at the moment that are either ready or nearly ready or whatever. And so I think it's something maybe that's come with age. Like, if I was as a 20-year-old, I could never ever write this much material.
Yeah.
So I think it's just an accumulation of life experiences and listening to music and getting better at it, I guess. So yeah, it's just a thing. It's a thing I do, and I can't stop. And I couldn't imagine ever stopping.
Yeah.
Like between just go to work. Like, I'm pretty good at what do they call it? Time management. For those corporate sort of wording of it. But my time management skills are pretty fucking good. So like, if I'm in the midst of, I've got a bit of a hefty workload with music, be it shows coming up or learn this or record that. I'm really good at getting up at fucking 6 a.m. and editing my guitars or practicing or I'll go to the gym before work. So as soon as I finish work and come home and just do however much, be it an hour or 2 or 3 of whatever to get things done. So yeah, it's funny, like, because I'm working full time and between going to the gym, like I try and go to the gym most days, or most weekdays, sorry, Monday to Friday with the gym, and I just cram it all in there, just get it done. I don't want to fucking hear the excuses, And that's the kind of people that I'll fucking try and associate with.
Yeah.
Just in life, fucking work or music or the gym or anything, like fucking. You hear enough excuses from people that fucking don't do this or they can't do that. It's like, fucking, why?
Well, it's that argument of you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. I mean, I genuinely do believe if you surround yourself with a bunch of losers, you will become one yourself. There's no two ways about it.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing that's driving you to push yourself harder, if that's the case. Maybe like we all have, I think especially as men, it's like a biological instinct that we have to measure ourselves against our peer group, and you do want to be, you don't want to be massively better than them, but you want to kind of at least keep up with them. And if your peer group are a bunch of guys that sit at home and fucking jerk off and play video games all day, then that's what you're going to become. Yeah. You're not going to become a conqueror of worlds, being friends with people that themselves don't have any ambition to do anything whatsoever.
Yeah, and like I've known people from both sort of sides of that spectrum. I've known people that are fucking incredibly dedicated and hardworking, and I've also fucking known talented yet the fucking laziest people you'll ever fucking meet. And it's like I can't compute it. It's like it's just strange, So I think I've had inspiration over the years from some of the hard-working people that I've associated with.
Like who?
I'd say Jason Mendonça. He like AKE was a very hard-working band. Guys in Werewolves, they constantly sort of impress me with their not that they're trying to do that, but just the way they get things done. Like, I can give something to someone. If I give an album to Sam, and he'll fucking write all the lyrics, or record all the lyrics, record all the vocals, or learn all the bass in a week or so. You know, or Dave would just do all the drums or things like that. And then just, I guess, in other areas of life, be it people you might train with or work with, maybe. It's just a fucking attitude thing, isn't it, you know? Some people have sort of got that sort of drive and focus, and that the drive that you might see from, well, the drive that I've seen before from people, say, at the gym, that sort of mindset is transferred over to my guitar practice sort of mindset.
I was literally just about to say to you, I've often joked about this at work, and I've said if it were up to me, we wouldn't interview anybody to join a team. I would take them to the gym. I'd work them hard for like an hour, hour and a half, see how they fare. Because I've seen this time and time again, a person's attitude and their approach to the gym, that is exactly how they're going to approach life.
Yeah.
If they push out on like on set 2, rep 3 because they just can't do it anymore, that's just how they'll take that same lack of resilience into the workplace with them. Yeah. And if it's somebody that is driven and is going to push themselves hard no matter what, will kind of go through the threshold if they have to. You'll see that translated to work as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And translated to life too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you see it at the workplace is a great example. Like, we all have those people at work that just fucking, don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily want to be at work.
Yeah.
But I'm fucking there. Just get it done quickly. And then, you're ahead of the game. The people up the food chain, they're happy with you because you've done everything. Everything's under control.
Yeah.
So, and these, like, being at work, that's the thing that, most people in most jobs don't necessarily want to do. So, like, if you go to work and you don't necessarily push yourself or focus or work hard, it's like, then at the fucking least, you'd imagine that these people would take their hobbies or their passions seriously. Like, if I go to work and just slack off, so be it. That's a problem for me and my superior, I guess. But why would I adopt that same fucking mentality into something that I'm meant to fucking love doing, like music? So I don't know. It's just people.
Well, the thing with work, right? You have a what's the name? Oh, really? No, we hadn't. See if you can sit there without being arrested. We're still we're in the thick of things. So
we've got to get cake. I want cake.
There's a that's what I was going to say about work. My view with work is everyone has to be there for at least the same amount of time, right? So if you're going to be at work or in the office for 8.5 hours, you may as well make the most of it. I personally, I don't necessarily, my actual job itself, I don't hugely enjoy. I don't really care so much about the job. All I care about is the outcome. Like, what am I going to be able to achieve? I'm my personal thing is I am hyper competitive. Not like to a socially like a socially awkward way, but with myself, I have very high expectations of myself, and I always want to be the best. So whatever I do, whether from selling fucking movie tickets at the box office, a job which I despised, through to selling Time Life CDs over the phone to old ladies, I've always for me, it's never good enough not to be the best. Yeah. And it's the same with the podcast. Like I genuinely try every single week. I'll go back over. I'll listen to an episode. I'll be like, oh man, I didn't really like that. I need to stop saying this so much. Blah blah blah. Every week I try and do something that's even better. I don't make a cent out of this, but it's for me, it's about what represents me. I don't want anything representing me that I think is substandard or shit or below par or mediocre. And I think that I've never been able to understand people that are happy with that. Like in a work context, I mean, I have in total, in my work setting, I have over, like obviously not direct responsibility, but people reporting to me. I have responsibility over about 350 people right now, right? You'll be fucking astonished the number of people, especially in Generation Z, that give the bare minimum. Then they get to the end of the year and it's performance appraisal time and we're talking about bonuses and they start thinking, well, I want to know what's next for me. I want to know, what my bonus is going to be like. I've really given more. I've gone above and beyond. It's like, you don't realize I can see how often you're inactive on teams. There's constant complaints about you. You're fucking lazy. You're not doing your work properly. And now it's about what's next for me. I can tell you what's next for you. You can keep on skimming through this job, or you can find another job. There are no two other options. It's like what people don't get, or what gets you ahead is not sucking up. It's not doing. It's all it is being present, and pushing yourself to do your best all the time. No matter what you do.
Yeah.
And if you think the job is beneath you and it's unfair that you're doing it, fine. Show people why you think it's beneath you. Show them why it's unfair that you're doing this.
How long have you been in your job doing
the exciting world of talent acquisition? Global talent acquisition.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So I fell into it. I moved to the UK. So my UK story, I think I've told it on the podcast at least to a degree. I came to the UK in 2002 and my plan was to be a radio DJ. I was desperate to become one. And I tried to get in touch with that cunt fucking Tony from Total Rock. I've called him out on the podcast many times before. I'll keep doing it. But so I got in touch with him. It was very naive and very plucky, not particularly worldly wise young man. Sent him some stuff of radio shows I'd done in South Africa. He said, they're not interested, blah, blah, blah. So those dreams were dashed. And I did realize that, nobody in the UK is interested in hearing a South African talk shit and play metal on the radio. So anyway, so then I got a job at Harrods. I worked there for a year. I worked in customer service. I've got some funny stories to tell about that. It was actually not an unpleasant job. The thing that was fun about that is the warehouse would give you so much free shit over Christmas because they're not going to let things spoil, so they'll just call you up and hey, we've got these several boxes of super expensive chocolates that they're spoiling in a week's time. Do you want them? So that was fun. But anyway, and then I finished there after a year because I was on a working holiday visa at first, and technically you were only allowed to work a year. They changed that law literally about a month after Harrods said, okay, we have to part ways with you. So then I went to go work in telemarketing, selling Time Life CDs to old ladies. And then I did quite well at that. My visa situation changed, and I went to register with a recruitment agency called Michael Page, for other jobs. And they said, why don't you go and work for us? And so, that's basically how I fell into it. Yeah. I just kind of took to it. I mean, it's definitely not the most metal job. Wow. But the company I work at now, I have to say, I mean, I'm not, a corporate citizen by any stretch of the imagination, but I genuinely enjoy working there. They let me be myself. Everyone knows what I'm into. Most people know about the podcast. And everything is kind of like they're very nice about it in an uncondescending way. It's like they think it's cool that I do stuff like that outside of work. Sure. And I think it's partly because I've also proven myself to a degree. But it's I mean, would I want to work in talent acquisition if I had a choice? I would do the podcast for a living if I had a choice, but that's also not going to happen. And then at the same time, I also think to myself, I don't want it to happen because I don't want something that I really, really love to become a source of my bread and butter. I mean, you must feel like that about music to a degree.
Yeah, it's funny, I've toyed with the idea of potentially trying to rely solely on music for income. And I actually had I had a bit of maybe a down sort of period last year at work, and I wasn't in a good place. And I was seriously thinking about trying to make some changes. I was going to maybe do online lessons and try and really focus on doing something guitar-wise. But then my work situation changed a little bit, and then things were looking up. And on top of that, I thought to myself, well, what do I want to do? I'm currently in 4 bands, writing music for all of them, recording, playing shows. And I get sick pay, holiday pay, and a decent wage. So it's like, as soon as my situation had changed, it's like things have looked up a bit. It's like, well, I know that I've got the 10 things that I do in my life, I'll stick with the 9 to 5 for the meantime, just to, that holiday pay, that superannuation, and that sick leave, all that fucking grown-up shit.
Well, there's also, I think a lot of what I see younger people, even people our age, don't think about that absolutely terrifies me, and that's retiring. Yeah. I don't actually think a lot of people in our generation realize how fucking terrifying, number one, it is to retire. Number two, what an impact that has on your finances, because a lot of people are still, in this country, statistically, are counting on state pension.
Right.
And there's a very good chance state pension won't exist by the time that I go on pension.
Right.
So people that are in their 40s right now, it's extremely likely they're going to turn around and say, sorry, you don't qualify. You earned X amount when you were working.
Yeah.
So, tough luck. You may have paid international insurance, but it's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, I can't imagine being old and not having the ability to enjoy life anymore. Because imagine that, you've worked for 40 years, and now when you're old, you basically have to sit at home and wait for death. I mean, that's not life for me.
Yeah, well, I think I remember being here when they, I was here working when they introduced the, you pay X amount of your wage and your employer puts in the same amount, and that was just a new thing, maybe in...
Well, that was the mandatory, mandatory workplace pension.
Right.
So state pension is separate to that. So mandatory workplace pension is, they did it because so few people were saving, and because they knew, like right now, I think the pension amount that you earn here is £186 a week, which is not a lot of money.
Not much.
You've seen how much the prices have gone up. So it's not a lot of money. I think it may be going up to like 201 or 202, but even then, the problem also with any, which is basically socialism, it's any socialist scheme like that, it's based on the premise that there's more people paying into it than are taking out of it.
Yeah.
But because our population pyramid is inverted and there's less younger people than there are older people, there's more people taking out than that are putting in. So it's headed for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And then I also read that, even people right now that are going into retirement, I think the average pension pot size that people have going into retirement right now in this country is £64,000. That's absolutely fuck all. That's literally like I think it's £300 maybe a month if you buy an annuity. Imagine having to live off £1,200 a month. I couldn't. Not in a million years could I do that. And the problem is, then you have these people that don't know about the stuff. They're ill-educated. They don't provide for the future. Then they get to the point where, the bill comes it comes time to pay the bill. Then they go, it's unfair. Tax the rich. And it's like,
it's I don't know. I'm not the most fucking knowledgeable person with all that sort of stuff, but what I'll say is, it's funny because when I went back to Oz, everyone's got their superannuation and surmising they've been working, for most of their life. And so I've been here, working here, but not getting any super. It's like I got back and, I was in my, I guess, mid-30s when I went back to Oz, 35 or something. I can't remember. And, I had nothing because I hadn't really worked a proper job in my time. When I was younger, I just sort of did music and fucked around and, I had the odd job here or there, but never enough to really make any serious sort of dent in or contributions to anything like that.
Yeah.
So, it's...
dude, I was in a similar boat for other reasons. Obviously, I got divorced. And when I got divorced, I needed to opt out of the company pension because I literally wouldn't have had enough money to make ends meet if I had stayed in my pension. So for quite a few years, I didn't pay anything into any sort of pension. So I've got some making up to do. But again, I think that's where the paranoia comes from. So, I'm more frugal now. Obviously, I still have my vices, the hi-fi in particular.
Absolutely.
But I'm much more conscious now about how I prepare for the future. But we've taken this conversation into really adult territory now in a quite different way. One thing I got raked over the coals about when I had you on, I think for the first time. What was the name of the first band you were in? Like the first band to release a record?
I think it was a Berserker, really.
Before that?
I had another band called a cheesy thrash sort of band called Steel Affliction.
So, I was raked over the coals by some dude who basically writes, is Steel Affliction discussed in this video? So I'm like, no, unfortunately not. It's like, then I'm not interested.
That's a fucking dedicated fan, that is.
I was about to say,
I don't know
so what's the hype around? Is it like your version of Acid Bath, or?
Oh no, it's so yeah. I used to be quite a passionate thrash guitarist, more so than death metal and black metal, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a thrash band years ago, and I guess it was kind of along the lines of maybe earlier sort of soil work. Sweet, I don't know, somewhere between earlier Slayer and maybe sort of Swedish stuff. And yeah, it's a thrash band. We did all right in Oz. We were all sort of young. Probably spent more time drinking and running around than we did playing music.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of my earlier bands. I think I was in it at the same time I was doing Berserker. So it was just that was just a thrash band that I played in. Funny enough,
mate, you've got a cult following, clearly.
Well, there might be one or two people. When I moved back to Oz, though, it's funny. We caught up and we had a reunion sort of rehearsal. Well, three of us anyway, because one of the guys wasn't there. But so me, guitar, bass, drums. We had a jam, and it's funny. It all came back like that. It was like we hadn't stopped. It just bang. It was there. But I'm not really a thrash guitarist anymore. I still play all those songs, but yeah, because there was a few people that were saying, "Oh, you're gonna do that band again? Is it gonna start again? Is it gonna happen again?" And I'm like, it's not really me anymore, you know. It's yeah, it's not me. Like it's.
But you're still down with some of the older thrash albums, I would assume.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I'm just not. I think you talked about this before. Like, I think the problem I've got with the problem I would have had with starting that band again is that I think the thrash band kind of has a few barriers, whereas death metal and black metal do anything you want.
Yeah.
There's no limits on what a death metal band or a black metal band can do these days. Like Antichrist, that's Antichrist Imperium, it's just acoustic guitars. And
you guys have got like a Dire Straits moment in there.
And it's the same with death metal. Antichrist is a mix of everything. But it's a lot more. I would be a lot more comfortable putting some sort of weird electronic or ambient or acoustic or whatever sort of section in a black metal or a death metal song than I would in a thrash song.
Yes. What we should have had was like a candid camera mode.
Yeah.
I jump up and beat the dude.
Beat the dude.
And you run and you're holding the camera up. It's straight now. Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, so as far as putting an ambient or clean or industrial or noise or any sort of weird stonery section or sludge section in a thrash song, to me it doesn't seem right. A thrash song should be fucking War Ensemble, or it should be Creator, or it should be Sodom.
Not New Creator.
You can't have a fucking you can't have a keyboard section or an acoustic flourish or any other sort of fucking jazz progression in Agent Orange. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. Whereas you could almost get away with doing anything if you're a little bit clever about it with black metal or death metal.
Yeah.
So thrash band for me is it's a bygone era.
Of those older thrash records, what are your favorite three? If you think top three that comes to mind first.
Show No Mercy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not very it's not very inspiring. But I'm going to have to say maybe Ride the Lightning, Show No Mercy, maybe Seasons in the Abyss.
Show No Mercy, definitely.
Yeah.
Speak English or Die is really my number two. Speak English or Die is a lot of fucking around, a lot of loss of focus, but when it is focused, Kill Yourself to me is like one of the most perfect songs. It's just absolute genius.
You know, like, I mean, you think of the Ride the Lightning, that's an incredible album for how old they were when they did it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just incredible. So, you know, it's just things like that. Like,
Were you inspired by the new Metallica album?
you know, I listened to that and I thought it was all right. And then I listened to it a few more times and thought, I don't know, changed my mind about it. It's, I think it's got some good moments, but fucking 70 minutes or whatever it is, it's a bit much.
It's
There's too much fucking hi-hat in the mix. He never, like, he's always counting in on the hats. And I'm
Yeah.
fucking do something, you know? So, I don't know.
No, I was reasonably, as you saw on the podcast, reasonably scathing about it. To me, it's the worst thing they've done since Saint Anger. And that's saying something because I didn't like Death Made an Ethic or the last album either.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something I'm not really interested in anymore. You know, I have no interest in the new Metallica album. You know, it's like I listen to it, whatever. But it's not something that I'm just not interested. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in fucking the new Miley Cyrus album in the same way I'm not really interested in the new Metallica album.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So you're not devastated that Miley Cyrus said she's not touring anymore because she doesn't like the...
I didn't even know about it.
I read it per
I
chance.
saw her on the cover of
earlier.
that magazine that's out at the moment, whatever it is. But anyway.
You mentioned having a couple of other projects that are sort of stowed away. What like, not revealing too much, but what kind of stuff have you got sitting in or lying in wait?
Lying in wait. So there's a whole lot of werewolf shit that's sort of happening. So I play in this band ABRAMELIN back in Oz.
Yeah.
We've got another album that's halfway finished. It's taken a long time, but it looks like it's going to be finished at some point. That's pretty cool. It's just pretty straightforward death metal. A black metal album. That's I don't know what's happening with that. You've heard that one, yeah?
I have, yeah.
So
Which is very, very cool. I mean, it would be
Yeah.
a shame if you just sat on that.
no, something will happen. I think the problem is that at capacity, and all the people involved are sort of at capacity with what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's like we really need to shop around, or we really need to do this and do that. But something will happen with that at some point. That new Shotgun Mistress album, which should be finished mixing like in the next week or so. That's really cool. Kind of sounds like I don't know, it's a little bit. The last one's very rock. This one's slightly more metal, maybe slightly along Skid Row sort of territory.
Okay.
Really cool. That's nearly finished. So yeah, I've got
You're getting to pop some of those Wasp influences into the mix.
Wasp, incredible. Yeah, so Shotgun Mistress album coming out, a ABRAMELIN album is going to come out in the coming year, I would imagine. I've got a black metal album, which is, you know, we'll see what happens. A whole lot of werewolf shit. We're talking about some Antichrist stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It won't exactly be an album, but it'll be something or other. Very early talks, but kind of something cool, which is a bit exciting. I don't know what else. There must be something else. I don't know. I get lost.
The Antichrist stuff, I mean, you guys must have taken at least, I mean, I know you like the record personally very much, but you must have taken a good degree of confidence away from how people responded to it. Because, I mean, maybe it's also just because I move in a certain orbit, but I mean, I've got a sizable social media following, and people universally loved that album.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really like it. You know, if people, you know, it's great that people are into it. I think it's a pretty good album. My biggest concern is trying to fucking better it. I just don't know how I could do an album that could be more of what that is. Like that's, I don't know, we try, see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, don't know what to say.
So what, like, is there any style of music that you would want to do a record in that you've not done yet? Like, what's the one maybe surprise you'd want to drop on people at some point, or like the one style you'd attempt that you've not that interests you that you've not done yet?
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I like playing blues, but I think it's just blues and metal. Like, a good blues player, like Joe Bonamassa or any of the classic sort of oldest, anyone, they're light years away from what I do as a metal player. Tone, sort of feeling, all that sort of stuff. That's just a hobby. Maybe one day sort of do something further in that direction. But realistically, I think just being in a rock band is a pretty close approximation of what I would want to achieve from that. I don't know, just more of the same, more of the same.
You wouldn't see, you wouldn't try your hand at like a Godflesh type record or something like that?
No, I don't think so. It wouldn't excite me enough, It's got to come down to speed and savagery or something, Like if the drums don't blast, like, if it, like, I even struggle when it's like dun, 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 dun. And then if it doesn't blast, it's like, oh, what a letdown, It's all kicked off and then fucking...
I like speed, but I will definitely say, like, I think Werewolves is an example. I think you guys are like your most effective when you've got like a blast and it turns into something like the breakdown for I Hate Therefore I Am. Like that, like my kind of that's 100% my kind of vibe.
Yeah. No, I mean that comes down to, that's a songwriting sort of thing more so than, it's like, as much as I would love to just fucking blast all the time, it's like, well, does anyone except for me really want to hear that? I don't know there's people out there that do, but like...
It's also what goes over well live though, right? Like live, you must surely get like a... I've not seen you guys play, but I mean, I would imagine if you have that breakdown, for example, on I Hate Therefore I Am, you're playing that live, that people will start hurting each other.
Yeah, there's definitely moments where it's like, oh, well, this clearly works.
Yeah.
We better keep this one in the set because this is the one bit where everyone's fucking banging their head. Whereas I think we usually finish with I Don't Like You, which is just the fucking...
Yeah.
And, the bigger shows we play, you can see the crowd sort of maybe doing their circle pit thing or fucking killing each other. But it's like, I think that's more of a responding to the fact that it's chaos.
Yeah. More
so than really getting into what's happening musically. I don't know. You play a few slower things or things with a bit of groove, and you really see it reflected in the crowd. So
that's the thing is, I've always said with death metal, I've said it so many times on the podcast, but like if I were advising a lot of death metal bands on how to pick their set list, you have to have those peaks and troughs. You can have a couple of fast songs, but bands that do entire sets of, and this is true of black metal bands too, you do an entire set of just fast songs, it sucks. It's too monotonous, and it doesn't create that visceral feel, and it's not allowing for a gateway for somebody who doesn't know you to get into it. I remember seeing Despised Icon, which is like super, super fast, most of it, but then they play a song like Retina that has this brutal breakdown, and everybody, no matter who, I mean, including myself, was like, Jesus Christ, like you just get into it. It's very interesting to me when I read an interview with Steve, in fact it might even have been when I spoke to him, Steve from Dearside, and he was talking about how they write, and he was like, we write specifically for the live setting, like when we write a song, we're writing with certain moments in mind, and we'll be like, that's a moment that's going to work live.
Absolutely.
Like he was even talking about like stuff like Sacrificial Suicide. When they do the damn to hell, it's like, I mean, you just know it is. Watch out because you're going to have a broken limb if you stand in the wrong place.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's entered into it a little bit with the newer werewolf stuff that we've done, because we've seen how it works, so you've seen what the crowd responds to. So I think in the back of my head that's been there a little bit, as opposed to just fucking all the way. But, there's also the aspect of like, well, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. If I want to do this, that's what I'm going to do. I think I saw it might have been fucking Eric Rutan on the Jasta podcast talking about when Morbid Angel went out with Pantera and what else was it?
No, it was like that Extreme Steel tour. It was Pantera. It was a weird lineup. It was Pantera, Slayer,
Satyricon, maybe?
Static. No, it was like Pantera, Slayer, Static X, and Morbid Angel.
Yeah, and it was Morbid Angel, like, you know, when they were on.
Yeah.
And I think Rutan was saying that, you know, obviously it's Trey's band or whatever, and he was quite focused on replaying all the brutal songs, you know, so it's the whole set.
Yeah.
He might have suggested, well, why don't we play God of Emptiness, you know, it's got a bit of room to move, like, you know, it's anyone that's not familiar is going to understand it. It's like, nah, brutal. So you kind of shoot yourself on the foot a little bit, because anyone that's there just to see Pantera doesn't like death metal, or doesn't really know much about death metal.
No. And also, you know, again, Pantera, Kings of Groove.
Yeah.
You think about what's going to appeal to the average Pantera fan.
Yeah. So if you just get a little bit of, you know, a little bit of music in there as well as just relentless fucking savagery, then you probably do yourself. It might have been a wiser career move, maybe. I don't know.
They have so much. I mean, Morbid Angel have so much like songs like that as well. Like Nothing Is Not, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, my favorite Morbid Angel album, you know, is and always will be Formula's Fatal to the Flesh.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I
think
like
it's fantastic.
I've had a bit of a renaissance with Morbid Angel. I've gone back and listened to a bit of stuff. I hadn't listened to Covenant for years, and I listened to it a while ago, and it's like, fuck, this is a fucking good album.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really quite sort of exciting, especially considering the time. You know, I wasn't much of a fan of Blessed, but I love Altars. I love Covenant. Don't really like Domination. I mean, I do, but it's not quite right for me. The Formulas is fucking incredible album. I listen to that. I probably listen to that once a week.
Blessed of the Sick, though, has Unholy Blasphemies. It has Unholy Blasphemies, and it's a song called where the chorus is "Bow down before the master." That's genius. I mean, that's absolute genius. Domination, when it came out, I loved. I was obsessed with it.
I mean, I was quite young, so.
But yeah, Formulas took me a long time to get properly into, but now, like, the song I look forward to most is the last song where Trey's doing vocals, because it's just such a king. It's the most evil sounding shit that they ever wrote as a band.
I quite like I think the real money shot in Domination is just the first song, you know. So that's it. It's like, you know, you've got those accents, and then after how many repeats, bang, it blasts. It's like, well, of course it blasts.
Yeah.
You know, and if it didn't, it's ruined. You know, they built it up, like it's just punched to the teeth.
That's also the album where I think Trey's leads like shine to me the most, like because they're so completely unhinged. Like if you think about Domination, for example, the song, that first lead that he does, it sounds like he's grabbing the first note from somewhere in the fucking in outer space, and it's like he's a real voice. You know, there's I don't think anyone. I haven't seen any of the sort of the new Dave Vincent stuff with the other guys playing, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I don't really know how anyone else could capture the way Trey plays. You know?
No.
So,
it's the same as like when you see Pantera with Zakk Wylde. I mean, I'm all for them doing this tour. I've never had a beef with that. But Zakk Wylde is an incredibly competent guitarist, but he's not Dime. Dime is one of those guys where, like, for me, the distinction between a good musician, or not a good musician, a great musician, and a like elite level musician is there's some, especially guitarists, there's guys that it sounds like there's just music fucking sprouting from their fingers. Like when you hear Trey play, it sounds like that. It sounds like he doesn't have to rehearse. He's just picking up the guitar and music just comes. Dimebag was like that. Matt Pike is like that. Kirk Winstein is like that. All my favorite players are all like that. I would actually, Kenny Hickey from Type of Negative to me is like that as well. But those guys, like when it comes to extreme music, like there is no one like Trey. No one.
Yeah, I think Dimebag's fucking incredible, like incredible guitarist. Probably like in my mind, so probably the best sort of metal guitar, like overall package for not extreme metal, but just as far as heavy metal guitarist goes. I mean, fucking hell, what are you gonna? You know, there's people like Marty Friedman, you know, like Holy Wars or whatever the album was, the Megadeth album. Rest in peace. So. And incredible playing, but has it really got the fucking ferocity and the attitude that Dimebag had? No. He's, you know, we got the new Metallica album. It's Kirk Hammett's. Does he sound like Dime? Fucking, it's terrible.
No.
It just sounds like, oh.
But the thing with Dime was also, it was the connection he had with his brother. Like that, I don't know whether you listened on the podcast when I played that cover that they did of Cold Gin. I mean, that's like them fucking around on stage, and you listen to it and you're like, listen to what they're doing to the song. It's like they're turning it into, I mean, it's a cool song anyway in my view, but they're taking it to like, 50 levels up just because they just are so tuned into each other as players. And Phil sounds great. Rex is, bringing the bottom heaviness in, but he is just, as a guitarist, he's got that vibe where it's like, if you listen to Far Beyond Driven or you listen to Vulgar Display of Power, it's like music is just coming out of it.
Yeah. I think the new stuff with I think Zach playing with them, like a lot of people are whinging about it and complaining that he's maybe he's not doing the solos the same, or he's not doing this, or that he's at the right tone and all that. I'd argue that none of that really matters. What are you going to do? You never. He could sit down, he could learn everything perfectly. It doesn't matter, it's not the same. I kind of prefer the fact that it's clearly him, like it's obviously Zakk Wylde playing Dime stuff. You can tell, you can hear his vibrato, it sounds like Zakk Wylde. And I think that's better.
Well, that's more in keeping with the spirit of this tour. I mean, they're doing it as like they're doing it as a tribute to Dime. And I think if you're going to pay tribute to somebody, you pay tribute to somebody in your own voice. You don't just try and copy what they did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's using certainly not using the same equipment that Dimebag did, because the tone's a fair bit different. So, but I think the playing's great. I don't think anyone else could have done it. They say like there's plenty of people that could do it, but I think Zakk Wylde's got the right attitude and sort of zest that he's playing to do it, and he's fucking doing it justice as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. All right, dude. I don't know how long we've been going, but I think it's been a while. the sun has shifted quite a bit. Yeah. So, all right, let's wrap it up. Thank you very, very much.
Nice.
I really hope this recorded properly. Otherwise, I'm going to be devastated. But
I think it should be right.
We'll see. All right.
Cheers.
Yeah. Oh, you were going to say there is?
No, it's all good. Done.
Were you gonna reveal a secret we both?
No. No, it was something unrelated.
You're gonna still do my? Can we talk about it? Are you gonna? Because you made me very happy with that message. Are you gonna use a Jackson sample on a future werewolf song?
Well, I did hear it and think, fucking hell, that's pretty good. Yeah. So I think I sent it to Sam and I said, I think we're fucking.
Dude, it'll be the greatest achievement of my time as a podcaster.
The first vocal appearance on a Werewolves album.
Exactly.
Not exactly singing, but fucking.
Yeah. Laying into cataclysm.
Yeah, that's it. Nice.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you very much.
Nice one.
Cheers, brother.
Death becomes the sound. We'll gladly play more knocks on
You just listened to Under the Ground by Werewolves, the first single off their forthcoming record, My Enemies Look and Sound Like Me. That album drops on August the 11th through Prosthetic Records. I've heard a bit of it, and I can give you a quick spoiler alert. It is fucking brilliant. Thank you very, very much to Matt Wilcock for his time. Always great catching up with him. And I mean, definitely one of my favorite guys in all of music. I've made no bones about that previously. You know, him and all the Werewolves dudes definitely, for me are fantastic representatives of why we love the scene so much. Right, let's talk now about one of this week's best new releases, the sophomore album by Necrofier out of Houston, Texas. That album, of course, is entitled Burning Shadows in the Southern Night. Now, the album comes hot on the heels of their 2021 debut, Prophecies of Eternal Darkness. Some of you are going to recall that I gave that record a fair amount of love on the show, but I did mention at the time that it hinted at bigger things to come for the band, especially if they doubled down on the more creative elements of that album, rather than spend all their time indulging in their, admittedly endearing love of bands like Dissection. Now, I'm pleased to say that the end result proves that is very much the case on Burning Shadows in the Southern Night, and it's evident more or less from the very start of the record when the band kick us off in a cinematic fashion with the intro track To Fall From Heaven. Not only is that song a real surprise with its inclusion of female vocals and a really haunting piano, but it perfectly sets the tone for when the band get down properly to business on Total Southern Darkness. Immediately noticeable to me is the wholesale improvements not only in Necrofier's songwriting, but also in their performances as well, and I think that Christian Larsen's voice especially sounds very, very impactful on this record. He really shines on To the Wolves, the track that comes next on the album, and there he does something that to me is quite a rarity, in that he manages to layer these really drawn out eerie screams over like super rapid fire drumming and riffs, and he does it in a way that at times evokes somebody like Ishan from Emperor, but very much with his own personality, and it absolutely smacks you right in the face. On Forbidden Light of the Black Moon, Necrofier do channel that love of the old school into what is, in my opinion, one of the catchiest black metal songs you're going to hear in 2023, and then they swiftly proceed to follow that up with the almost equally excellent Destroying Angels. Now, the only slight niggle that I've got with this record, and it is very, very slight, is that I think the mix sounds really, really compressed, and that's especially evident when you listen to it through a decent system. I had it on the hi-fi on Friday when the record came out, and it does sound very, like almost say overly digital. I don't quite know how to put my finger on it, but it sounds dry and it sounds a bit compressed. And I think, it's less noticeable on headphones, which is what I'm going to assume many, many people listening to this episode are going to listen to it through. Maybe if you had a sound system that was a bit more forgiving, you're not going to notice it as well, not going to notice it as much. But I can't help but thinking that the 10 tracks on offer here would have really benefited from something a bit more lively and a bit more analog in the sound engineering department. But like I said, it's a very minor complaint, and I am sure that a lot of you aren't even going to notice it. The big story here is that, like their label mates in Cloak, Necrofier appear to have truly found their feet, musically speaking, with this album. It is way more confident than their debut by a long stretch. It is memorable, which is something that I don't think is easy given the sheer volume of music that gets released every weekend. And even though I still feel that a lot of reviewers and a lot of critics and podcasts and whatnot are sleeping on this band, you definitely get the sense that it's just a matter of time before these guys are going to go some way towards establishing themselves as a much, much bigger act than they are currently. You are going to see exactly what I mean when I play you one of my favorite songs off the record coming your way right now. This is Necrofier with Total Southern Darkness. Total Southern Darkness by Necrofier off their fantastic new record, Burning Shadows in the Southern Night. It's available right now on Season of Mist Records. Link to their Bandcamp in the description to the podcast. And if you head over there and you buy yourself some music, then you know what to do. Let Christian and the gang know that it was old Jackson at Into the Necrosphere that sent you. And yes, for those of you wondering, Christian will be back on the show. It will mark his third appearance. He's been on the podcast a couple of times now, but when they get off the road, he and I have already spoken. And he will be making his third visit to Mean Street Studios to talk about Necrofier and whatever else comes to mind. It is very cool to see some of you who are recently discovering the podcast, delving back into some of the archives, and I've had some fucking awesome guests on the show. Jason Mendonça of AKERCOCKE, Ghoul from Mayhem, Alex from the Ruins of Beverast. Yeah, there is a treasure trove of high caliber elite level guests going back all the way to episode 1, where I featured one of my favorite Germans on the face of the earth, Marco of Stellar Master Elite. And I did mention at the top of the podcast that I had a potential surprise for you. So, surprise, surprise, Marco is joining me for this week's installment of my weekly news rant. All right, so just so everybody knows, we started recording this segment, and no sooner had I played the first minute of the first song, through which you sat like diligently, very, very, very quietly, and I played the first minute of this tune, and I'm like, did you, what do you think of that song? It's like, yeah, I didn't hear anything. Anyway, Marco, let me, for the second time, and this time the official time, welcome you back to the podcast. First time since the very fun Christmas special that we did back in 2021, which I do think I know I said at the time we need to make it an institution. I think this year we definitely need to resurrect that.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Now, how's everything been going with you, first and foremost?
Yeah, everything good so far. I just came back from my vacation, and yeah, first working day sucks, but apart from that, everything is okay.
Back in the office, nothing could be better. What's happening with Stellar Master Elite?
We are working, we are continuously working on new stuff. Sadly, we can't rehearse as often as we want to, because it's things like I sold my car, and now I have to take the train. Of course, schedules there are a bit different. Of course, like my bandmates got kids going on, so it's got a bit more complicated. But we are definitely working on new stuff.
Well, his Omnikolos project is getting a lot of love from the Legion. Like, there's a lot of people that have contacted me since I played that track. And I like, I bought the vinyl, or I bought it on Bandcamp, and I really liked it. Like, I'm actually, I guess I shouldn't say surprised, because the folks that listen to the podcast has got they've got reasonably good taste, clearly, because they listen to this podcast. But it's quite a it's quite a different album. It's quite like it's avant-garde, but not necessarily in a Octurus style. You understand what I mean? Like, anybody who listens to the record knows it's a bit off the wall. I mean, there's some parts there that remind me of the Antwoord.
It's really innovative in a way. At least I think that. So, and it's great that they had the balls to bring in different styles of music and sounds. So kudos to them.
Yeah,
really good.
But as I said, I was quite. It's an accomplished record. I mean, I know obviously in the background you told me that he's had kids and stuff like that, and his circumstances has changed. But I mean, the most critical thing though is I still listen frequently to the last Stellar Master Elite record, really all of the records. So and I also frequently get people saying, when are you going to get Marco back on? When is Stellar Master Elite doing another album? So there's strong demand for it, mate.
Yeah, like I said, we are continuously working. We set everything up in our rehearsal space with like recording gear and all the instruments we need there, and we mic the drums already and the guitars obviously, and it's ready. So we just need to put to get like a framework together of the songs, and then work on it. So we'll take a bit. Take maybe, let's say, I don't know, maybe another half year and then we are ready recording, I would say. And yeah.
And I mean, there's been enough, I know, that has inspired you that's come out this year. Now, you and I were talking back and forth about the new Ruum album, which, I mean, everyone who's listened to that is blown away. I mean, that album came as such a surprise. And like, the more I listen to it, the more I almost wonder if the guys from Mayhem have heard the record, because in some ways it kind of feels like he's throwing the gauntlet down a little bit and saying, hey, you know, you guys did okay with Demon, but, you know, I used to be in the band and this is what I can write.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Blasphemer has a unique style. You would recognize him in 1,000 other guitarists. You know, you hear from the first second it's Blasphemer, and yeah, we all know about his songwriting when he was back in Mayhem and Our Noir, of course. And yeah, I think that album is fantastic. And it's and I think it's really cool that they've got so many guest appearances there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you mentioned this as well, that there's these hints of Ordo Archaeo on the record, and that's one of the things that the more I've gone back and listened to it, the more I can hear that. Like, it really sounds to me like a companion to Grand Declaration of War and Ordo Archaeo. Like, there's elements of both. And then he's taken those elements and he's kind of mixed it in with just, I guess, the next chapter in the darkness. But yeah, it is fucking stunning. I mean, right now, without a doubt, I'd say top 3 contender, if not my contender for album of the year.
Easily top 3 for me as well. So I want to know who is topping that. Well, except the Dead Times God album, the last one.
Yeah,
which will be for sure my number 1, but the Ruum record is fantastic.
Yeah, the Dot Times God record, I'm still going to need to work on. I did try and listen to it once, but I think I was stuck on the Altari record, and then which you kind of actually got me excited about, and then I can't remember what it was that kind of distracted me. And the weekend that the Dot Times God record came out, I just didn't pay any attention to it because of that album. And I know you went on and on about it, but I've just not been quite in the right frame of mind to listen to it. But I know when I listen to it, I mean, I don't. There's not a single one of my friends who hasn't said it's brilliant. So
it's awesome, and it's that album totally. Yeah, you need to be in the right setting for it, and then it's absolutely fantastic. It's unbeatable, really. Like, I've never made such a journey with an album before, I think. And that's quite something.
All right, my friend. Well, let's make a journey of our own down the down the winding pathways and alleyways of Metal Storm. The first news headline that caught my attention: Witch Skull are going to release their 4th studio record next week. Canberra, Australia-based Doom Monsters Witch Skull will put out their 4th long player, The Serpent Tide, worldwide on June the 16th via Rise Above Records. Alongside unveiled details, you can also check out an official music video for the album's title track. I've never heard of these guys before, but Canberra, Australia immediately makes me interested. I will like Australia are one of those countries where if there's something that's from there, I'm almost instantly interested. So I've never heard these guys before. Have you heard them before?
No, but when I read Rise Above Records, it means quality.
All right. So, well, let's hear if that's the case. Most critically, before we get properly into the song, you're not going to sit there for another minute again. Quietly and patiently, you could hear that.
Oh, I can hear, yes.
All right. Well, so let's get back to it. What do you think?
I think the the instruments and the production sounds fantastic, but I'm not a fan of the vocals. I think they are too high pitched for me.
Oh, really? Yeah, I actually quite like the vocals. I like all of this, to be honest with you. You know what it reminds me of a lot is Sarg. Sarg has got similar vocal style. It's kind of like I could see this band very easily going on tour with Sarg, or even going on tour with a band like Eye on Fire, and probably landing pretty well with that audience.
Yeah.
But I like the riff. It's got a nice pummel neck snapping feel to it. I agree with you on the production. I think that sounds very, very cool. And I don't mind the vocals. I mean, I can see how it might be a little high pitched for some, but I don't mind it.
I'm more a fan of bands like, I don't know, Electric Wizard, for example, when it comes to vocals. Not that high pitched and not that perfectly sung, but it fits to the music. I will give this another spin, I guess. So I think actually it's a grower.
Well, let's give it another 60 seconds because again, if it's just going to drag on and on and on doing the same thing, it's going to be a bit boring. But if there's like a big chorus awaiting us, then that could be pretty awesome. So, all right, we'll give it another 60 seconds. I feel like there should be a little bit more payoff to this than what there has been so far in those first 2 minutes. And actually, I said the vocals don't bother me so much. But one thing that I'm picking up there, and I don't know whether he's doing it intentionally or maybe my hearing is just not what it should be, but does it sound to you like he's going off key quite a lot when he sings?
It sounds a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's no Ronnie James Dio, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, but it fits. It fits.
It fits, but I mean, like, I don't know. There is like just there's just something slight. Like I can't put my finger on it, but there's just something that's just slightly off, like from where it should be.
I would have to listen to that again. Yeah. I will give it a whole spin when the album comes out.
Well, it's not gonna earn a top notch, but it's definitely not bad. I'm not averse to what I've heard. All right, let's move on. This looks like a band that you'll absolutely love. Whores. Bass trio Whores will be back on tour over Europe this coming December. There's no music there, and I don't know what Whores sounds like, so I don't really give a shit. Feral have posted a new track as part of their upcoming split release with Crawl. Made as those who are no longer alive, death metalers Feral reveal from the Ancient Tombs advanced track. Any idea what these guys sound like? They are on Transcending Obscurity, so that, like, for me, that's a mark of quality.
So I read Sweden, so I guess it will sound like the typical Sweden death.
All right, well, we'll see. I'm not the biggest fan of the typical Sweden death, but let's hear. Like I said, Transcending Obscurity, the quality control that's done at that label is reasonably good. So I have some degree of optimism, but we're about to find out. I've heard enough. I don't know how you feel about this, but I do like with bands like Gatecreeper and Entrails and stuff like that around that does this style of music pretty well. And then when you consider where death metal has gone elsewhere, so like a band like Nightmare or even the Last Cattle Decapitation, I kind of question the need for a band like this to even exist. I mean, I know it'll find its audience somewhere, but I mean, this is like as much of a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox of like an ever-flowing stream as I've ever heard, with worse vocals.
Yeah, that's true. But it's they're all about that guitar sound, and that makes it that it could be more unique if they would change their guitar sound, in my opinion. But that's
maybe.
That's
but I mean,
it
still has that typical like entombed style riffing, you know, it's so predictable to me. It doesn't do anything for me.
It's awesome when you're having a few beers and you crank it over your speaker, and then it's fun. But it's nothing to sit on your couch and listen to, you know.
No, I just, as I said, it's not. It doesn't do anything for me. All right, we got Ginger with new music in the making. Not a band I give a fuck about. Then we've got Burial Hordes streaming a new song online. I quite like that last Burial Hordes track that I listened to. There was it wasn't perfect, but there was enough going on there that it was very interesting to me. So it says here, ahead of this Friday's June 9th new album release, Ruins, Greek black metal purveyors Burial Hordes offer in listening the last advanced track called In the Midst of a Vast Solitude. Let's give this one a whirl. Just to note, 2 upside down crosses and a pentagram in the logo. That's an immediate sign of quality.
And it sounds like they recorded it with a toaster or something.
it definitely, it's got like a tumble dryer feel to it. But anyway, right, let's get back to it. I know now what I disliked about the song the last time, or the previous single that I listened to. I remember liking the music very, very much. There's one thing I didn't like so much. But what did you think of that?
I don't know. I'm not a fan. And for me, it's more death metal than black metal.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It sounds like a very deliberately old school death metal band. It doesn't sound black metal whatsoever. I mean, if you're gonna call this black metal, then there's a whole lot of death metal releases that you would probably call, black metal as well. But it was the guy's vocals I didn't care for when I listened to the last single, and again, it doesn't sound like his vocals suit the music. It sounds like he's kind of, when you're on stage and the monitors aren't turned up loud enough or something. Yeah. And you don't hear what the other guys are doing. And then and you struggle to hear yourself, so you push your voice a little bit harder than you should, and you end up sounding really hoarse. That's what he sounds like.
Yeah.
So, by the way, you've got, for a sweet, friendly young man, you got some pretty formidable vocals yourself. Are you like you wouldn't have done them for quite a while now? Because of the, because like if you guys aren't practicing as often, or you haven't recorded for a while, like how do you keep your voice in shape?
It's not about keeping your voice in shape. It's just reaching that point where your throat doesn't taste like blood. Like usually it takes some hours, but then you have to you have to fine tune it a bit. But then when you find the right spot, then it's usually fine. And then by doing it for several days or weeks, then it's all right. It's just the beginning. In the beginning, it's a bit painful, but yeah.
I thought you were about to say, after a couple of, cops from the crack pipe.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do anything. No, but as I said, your vocals, I've always really liked.
Thank you very much.
As I said, they feel like vocals that would probably require some work to keep in shape.
Well, like I said, not to keep in shape, but getting back there is a bit of work, but it's okay usually.
All right. Well, we move on. Geld, success track revealed. The release of Geld's third full-length Currency/Castration is just around the corner, dropping this Friday, June 9th, via Relapse Records. To taste another piece of the upcoming outing, the Australians premiere a music video for the track Success.
Geld means money in German.
I know. I was just about to say it in Afrikaans. It would be geld.
Geld.
Yeah, geld.
But written the same way.
Yeah, written exactly the same way.
Okay.
So this is why I was wondering. Then I saw they're from Australia. There's a lot of South Africans that live in Australia, though. So you never know. But either way, I've never heard of them before. But they are on Relapse Records. So as much as Relapse Records has been very hit or miss over the last several years, I still want to give it a quick spin. I would literally rather take a fucking cricket bat to my nutsack repeatedly than listen to that nonsense.
I like it.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I have a sweet spot for punk and dirty rock. So
did you listen to? Oh, okay. We'll get back to it in a second because maybe I was a little overly harsh. I don't think I was, but did you listen to that Poison Ruin album that came out on Relapse Records in in April?
Not yet, no.
Oh, bro, you're about to hear it now. I just want to play you one song of this because it is fucking fantastic. Hold on. There we go. Right. Just give this a quick. I just want to give you a little taste, and then we'll go back to your nonsense that you liked before. But if you like that kind of stuff, and you like things like the first TSOL album, that sort of almost a kind of horror punk vibe, these dudes just nail it. This is so fucking cool. I did listen to this on the news rant a while back, but the whole album is excellent. But you have to hear this. Hold on, I'm just going to go to the very beginning of the song, and then we'll leave it to these lads. Now, like as far as music that you can have a beer to and have a good time to, that to me is that's the kind of shit that I'll that's playing at my barbecue. What did you think of that?
I really like it, and
Yeah.
the video is class as well. So also
the music sounds a little bit like they took an old cassette deck and they put it around the corner of the studio and they recorded themselves while they were rehearsing.
Can you remember Satan's Satyrs?
No, I cannot.
Like enter it in YouTube and say Electric Witch Whipper.
I'll do that in a second. Let me play you just one more song of this so that everyone can get why I think this is so brilliant. This is because it's actually not that song that I wanted to play you. It's this one. And this was the song that made me just completely fall in love with this band.
What's the album called? Harvest, right?
Yeah. And as you can see, the music video on this one is also similar vibe. Serial killer VCR.
Yeah.
That, my friend, is fucking genius. Absolute genius. Great lyrics as well.
It's exactly the shit I like.
Yeah, there's a frost in the field, a tax on the yield, and a hand in your pocket. That's like living in Europe, mate. So, okay, here's something that's pretty spicy that we need to discuss. So, are you aware of? Let me read the headline so everybody who's just listening to this knows what we're talking about. Rammstein respond to allegations of sexual misconduct. Are you aware of what's been going on here?
Yeah.
So, shall I read this and then you give me your take on it, and I'll tell you what I think. So it says here, over the past couple of days, there have been various developments in regards to accusations of sexual misconduct against Rammstein frontman Till Lindemann. The band has since delivered multiple responses, warning this article and its linked pages include mentions of sexual assault. The allegations initially came from a person who claimed that at the band's Vilnius show during the pre-party, Till Lindemann approached her and was upset upon being refused sex. She suspects that her drink offered by Till was spiked and she woke up later with bruises and finger marks. The gist of it has been compiled here. A more comprehensive version has been posted in these two Instagram highlights, blah, blah, blah. So there's links there. She then writes on Twitter, I'd like to clarify again, Till did not touch me. He accepted that I did not want to have sex with him. I never claimed he raped me. Please read the entire Twitter thread for full context before making reports. The band's initial response came on Twitter as they posted the following: with regard to the allegations circulating on the internet about Vilnius, we can rule out the possibility that what is being claimed took place in our environment. We're not aware of any official investigations into this matter. The band then posted the following on Instagram, translated from German. The posts of the last few days have caused irritations and questions to the public and especially our fans. The accusations have hit us all very hard and we take them extremely seriously. To our fans, we say it's important to us that you feel comfortable and safe at our shows, on and off stage. We condemn any kind of trespassing and ask you do not participate in public prejudice by any kind against those who made the allegations. They're entitled to their way they see things, but we, the band, also have a right, namely not to be prejudiced. So it says here that Till's book publishers, Kippenhauer and Witch, have dropped him. And they posted a statement saying that, they're shocked about it, blah, blah, blah. So what's your take on this?
It's a difficult one, really. I mean, like, first of all, I really condemn rape because that's a horrible thing to do.
No, of course.
But there's some things which don't seem quite right to me. Like first that girl was like making a fuss on Twitter that here, Till Lindemann, Rammstein, blah blah blah, and my drink has been spiked and whatnot. And then she says that's nobody touched her. And then that there were these other women that came that outed themselves as well, but months and years after it happened. So I don't know. Like, and then I read a story that the team of Rammstein is especially recruiting young women, and they're writing them on Instagram and texting them, "Hey, send me some pictures, and you get backstage tickets and whatnot." But if you do something like that and you show up there, like, you should know what will happen somehow. Or am I wrong there?
I mean, I'm obviously with you. Backstage misconduct. That's against the will of anybody is disgusting. And I mean, I'm a very big and very outspoken fan of Rammstein, but I mean, I wouldn't support anybody doing something like that. I think it's wrong, and my views on crime and criminals are dim enough that everybody knows what I think should happen to people that do that. So anyway. But I agree with you. There's a couple of things here that don't really make a lot of sense to me. So firstly, these other two women that have come out, both shows that they claim these things happened at didn't take place. So they're referring to shows where Rammstein didn't play at those venues, or certainly weren't at those venues on those dates. And as you say, it's from years ago. And then secondly, you've got this incident where this woman is posting photos of herself bruised up and saying that she had her drink spiked and she don't know what happened. But then she also says, Till didn't touch me. He accepted that I didn't want to have sex with him. I never claimed he raped me. But she kind of did claim that he raped her.
Yes, so I mean, it's career destroying,
Yeah, well, that's the insidious thing about this. It's like, somebody can just say something, and without any kind of proof, the guy is declared guilty before there's been an investigation, before there's been any hard factual evidence coming. There's no one that's got video of this. There's no evidence of any kind that's been presented, barring a photo of her and then ultimately her denying that he did anything to her. That's what I find so perplexing about this whole situation.
I mean, for me, it sounded more like she was, she was looking for her minute of fame somehow. I mean, like, I obviously don't know what happened there, but I don't know if I should buy it or not. But
no, I definitely, I think, as I said, if it's real, if it definitely happened, and if there's evidence enough to, in a court of law to convict him, then I mean, bury him under the prison. But until such a time, I do believe that people are innocent before they declare guilty. And the thing is, this band has been operating at a certain level for such a long time now that if there was shady stuff going on, low life type behavior going on backstage, I mean, surely something would have come out by now.
Yes, of course. I mean, like, for a band their size, it's almost impossible that everything is kept a secret, but this story, I don't know. I really don't know what to think about it. I mean, like, of course I would believe when somebody told me, hey, Rammstein, they're inviting groupies backstage. I mean,
yeah, of course. I mean, but I would argue most bands are of a certain level. There's at least some of that kind of activity that goes on.
Yeah, sure, of course. But then both sides agree. I mean, like,
yeah.
If you are a groupie, you exactly know what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. But I mean, what I would also suggest is that, I mean, because obviously you had the issue with the guys from Decapitated where something similar to this happened.
Yeah.
Lesson learned: don't invite a bunch of fucking strangers backstage. I mean, if I were in a band, I'd have ring cams up all over the backstage. And if if I were a single man and I wanted to keep some female company, it would either be somebody I know or Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Possibly someone I have to pay for by the hour. maybe not that extreme, but I mean, I would take the necessary precautions. Like I would have them sign a fucking contract before the time to say, okay,
or like an NDA or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, NDAs don't mean shit in this day and age, but I for sure would insulate myself from this kind of shit. I know people in the heat of the moment, when the liquor is flowing and everybody's having a good time, maybe they're not thinking of the consequences, but it's too, all it takes is for one person to point the finger at you, and there's no need for there to be any evidence, nothing that proves unequivocally that you're guilty. And look what happens. I guarantee you, next thing record deal or record label drops them, there'll be all sorts of shit.
Yeah, I mean, like when I did my civil service, so I didn't. Well, back when I was 18 years old, you had to go to the army in Germany because it was mandatory, right? So, but I refused. So I had to do different things for 9 months, and I worked at a workshop for disabled people. And first day at work, like I was warned by other colleagues that there's this one mentally disabled woman running around that is accusing every new male colleague of having touched her and things. So, I mean, like if something like that happens and she's like telling to people, hey, that guy touched me. And so, yeah, it could bring you into trouble.
100%. The thing is, for me, what I think is the most egregious is that if, and I'm not saying she is, but if she is lying, think of the damage that does to other women with legitimate cases that come forward and say something happened to me. Yeah, exactly. Because you through your bullshit attention-seeking behavior, you're immediately calling into question, what other people come forward with when they come forward with legitimate situations that happened.
Yeah, and if then nobody is believing you, then it's
yeah. Anyway, it's a fucking sad state of affairs, but I think there's just and maybe it's the Rammstein fan in me that's hoping that this is the case, but there just seems to me to be too many question marks around the story. There's too many things that aren't aligning, and I don't think that somebody who effectively accuses somebody of sexual assault and then denies it later on, only to then go on and say, yeah, but it actually is scum and he did terrible things to me. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense. Plus he would be stupid. So
fuck yes, to do that in 2023 when there's this is the other thing, right? Surely somebody backstage had a mobile phone that they were taking video with. There must be evidence of some sort.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right. Well, I mean, the main thing is when you guys eventually start touring, when I convince you to start touring, just keep the groupies away, mate. That's all I'm going to say.
That was never my cup of tea, really.
keep the bitches at bay.
No.
All right. Let's move on to more positive things. Ringworm have joined Nuclear Blast. They've announced a new album. Cleveland-bred extreme metalers Ringworm have announced they're signing to Nuclear Blast Records with plans to release the album Seeing Through Fire on August 18th. The band have also shared an official video for the song No Solace, No Quarter, No Mercy. I fucking love that name. Speaking with a founding vocalist, Human Furnace, we're pretty pumped on Seeing Through the Fire. It's a total burner. It's straightforward, smash your face and leave you laying there wondering what you got hit with type record. We've never felt the need to reinvent our own wheel, but going into this one, we tried to do some different things sonically, and we're very happy with the results. Of course, it's the intention every time we record a new record, but we feel like the overall sound, feel, and aggression of Seeing Through Fire one-ups many of our past records, which for anyone that knows our catalog is not always an easy task. With every new record, you have to dig deeper. These guys have got some fucking badass albums as far as I'm concerned. And I wouldn't necessarily call them extreme metalers. Like they've always been more of a hardcore band with metal sensibilities to me. But either way, let's hear what this sounds like. Before I hit play, are you a fan of Ringworm?
I never heard of them before, but I know it's a horrible disease.
Dude, well, firstly, that's a disgrace. Secondly, you're about to hear what they sound like. Thoughts?
Is it a new trend to have knights in your video?
Well, there was a trend that was sweeping the metal scene, and I made jokes about it several times on this segment about basically old men running around in their underwear on a beach, and then the band is standing on the rocks playing, and that seems to have gone away. But I kind of agree with you. All of a sudden now we're back to fucking Knights of the Round Table is the theme.
No, but I kind of like it. For my taste, the vocals are way too loud.
Yeah,
but it's good.
Yeah, I do like it very much, but I'm gonna try and find the real deal for you, because there's a song that these guys did that is so fucking cool. Like it's I mean, this is pretty decent. Oh, there we go. Right. I have to play this to you. So that that is decent. But let's, in terms of them one-upping stuff, I'm not so sure that they've one-upped this song. So just give this a listen. I'm going to actually jump to the kind of latter 3/4 of the song, because it's the ending of this track where the real magic is. Can't tell you how much I love when a song has that like breakdown, and then it like goes into that rolling beat, that dun, 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 dun. Fucking genius, absolute genius.
I was waiting for that all the time.
Dude, it's so cool. But they got a lot of songs that kind of have that same vibe. This, as I said, this isn't bad. It's not grabbing me like that song does, or like a lot of. I mean, they've got a couple of albums that I would strongly recommend you check out. One is called Hammer of the Witch. It came out in 2014, and then they've got another one called Justice Replaced by Revenge. It came out in 2006, and then one called Scars. It came out in 2011, and all three of those are pure magic. Like I said, this doesn't sound bad, but I'll give it another 60 seconds. But one upping their previous stuff, I'm not so sure about that. I'll tell you what this is better than, in terms of not necessarily an entirely similar style of music, but kind of playing in the same sport. The band that brought shame to your nation, Creator. The last Creator record is so fucking terrible. I would listen to this a million times over before I listened to that album.
Yeah, but the last few Creator records have been shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's that last one really was. I mean, I was still reasonably excited about it, but
what was it called? Hate über alles.
Hate
right?
über alles. Yeah. All right. Ken Mode have released a new song called The Shrike. However, it's on Bandcamp, so I'm not going to listen to that. I don't listen to band. Just so you know, I don't listen to Bandcamp. What's name's Bandcamp embedded files, because it's too fucking loud, and okay. I don't have the time to do a full post recording, mixing, and mastering. Okay, moving on. A band I know will be one of your favorites. All for Metal are premiering.
Oh yes,
Video clip for Legends Never Die. The third single of their upcoming long player, Legends. The latter drops on July the 7th on AFM Records.
Please don't click.
They are dressed exactly like I would imagine you would dress if you guys played live.
Oh my God! Please don't play it. Please.
Oh, you have to hear this, mate. This is the spontaneity of the segment. Is I can't skip over shit just because I think it might not be good. And look at that. They're in, I would say reasonably carefully put on war paint. So not quite war paint. It's more like, carnival paint, dressing up for the parade at their local theme park. But anyway.
And they're into fetish clothing, I see.
Yeah. Well, no, that looks like fetish clothing made to look like He-Man armor. Okay, anyway, enough talk. I know you're going to like the song. So this is all for metal, and the song is called Legends Never Die.
Chase the sun and the fire in our souls. It's in our blood, the stories we've been told. We hunt for glory to save our...
Did you take your headphones off?
Yes.
I was about to say, you missed out on some brilliant music, mate. I actually thought you'd taken your headphones off because it was too emotional for you.
I could still hear it.
Oh my God, it sucks. I don't know, again, how bands make music like that in fucking 2023. But anyway. All right. Let's see what else there is. Ornhale have put out Bloodthirst track and visualizer to promote their upcoming In Black Ashes record due on June 9th via Black Lion Records. Dutch metalers Ornhale now unveil the Bloodthirst track as a second preview of the new music output. Have I heard Ornhale before? They sound to me like a band you might have recommended to me.
No, I think I didn't.
Right. Well, you better hope that. Let's see. Let's hear what it sounds like, and if it sucks, then you better hope you didn't ever recommend it to me.
No, I'm quite sure I didn't.
Okay, let's hear what it sounds like. That is excruciatingly shit.
No, I'm 100% sure I didn't recommend it to you.
that is staggeringly poor. I'm gonna jump to the halfway mark because I'm just curious to hear what the guy's vocals sound like. But looking at the band's photo, so you got a guy there with a goat horn t-shirt on. If I were Sammy, I'd send him an email and demand he take it off, or I'd fly to the Netherlands and remove it myself. Yeah, what I heard there. That is pretty goddamn fucking atrocious. Jesus Christ. I went to the middle of the song and there's still no vocals.
Maybe it's an instrumental.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, we're about to find out. So I'll jump now to the 4-minute and 54-second mark. So hopefully there's some sort of singing happening. No, fuck it. I'm not. Let's just put that one behind us. Silosis announced album release. We have to hear this. Godflesh, new single unveiled.
Didn't hear about that.
Dude, I didn't even realize we're going to put out a new album until somebody mentioned it to me in a comment the other day.
Me neither. Like, when was the last Godflesh album? I have no idea.
I think they put out one in like 2017 or 2018.
I have no idea.
It wasn't too long ago. It was like relatively speaking. But anyway, all right. It says here, before their long player Purge hits the streets next Friday on June the 9th, Godflesh now premiere the second new single called Landlord. It's available for streaming with the accompanying music video. Right, let's hear what it sounds like.
I hope it's nights in the video.
That immediately earns a top notch as far as I'm concerned.
Sounds pretty promising, yes.
It's fucking brilliant. As soon as I heard that beat, I was like, yeah, I immediately like this.
Yes, I love that industrial vibe in the background.
Yeah. No, that like, I mean, you know, to borrow a Gen Z term, that's a fat beat. PH fat. That's a fat beat. I love that. I love the guitar sound. I love the vocal sound, completely demented. Just everything about that is completely and utterly up my street. I love that.
That could be a great album.
Yeah. No, that is now instantly moved all the way up to one of the records I'm looking forward to hearing most in the next couple of months. Just from the first minute 12 seconds. Let's get back to it, but that opening is fucking fantastic. There's something about the music video that reminds me a lot of the music videos of like the mid 90s. The ones that you got like when I recorded MTV Headbangers Ball, and you know they had whatever new metal rubbish they were going to feature, you know, on the main episode. Then they had Into the Pit, but normally after Into the Pit, they would kind of the way they would kind of do the music videos is they would have stuff that's kind of like metal adjacent, and that's where they would always throw in like Ministry or Godflesh and stuff like that. This reminds me a lot of those music videos.
It's quite mesmerizing.
Yeah. No, I really, really like that. I absolutely fucking love that. You're an industrial fan, as you said.
Yeah, well, not pure industrial, but I love industrial elements in music, like for example, on the 666 International record of Third Times God, that must be, or the Mysticum stuff. I really love that cold vibe.
I like that cold vibe, but I really do like when the combination for me of that rhythm with the guitar. It's just that like grinding. It's It's as you say, it's mesmerizing, it's hypnotic. I don't really know how to describe it. It just feels like something that you just can lose yourself in completely. It's just I fucking love it. I absolutely love that.
Totally sucks you in, and I hope the whole album will be in that vein.
Yeah, no, definitely
would be awesome.
Did you ever listen to an EP that Ian Mackay of Fugazi and Al Jorgensen of Ministry did together called Palehead?
No.
It's fucking cool. Let me play you a song real quick. I think I'm sure I've spoken about this on this segment before, but it's such a shame that they never did another one of these, because it's like, I don't know if you're a fan of Fugazi. I'm a very, very big Fugazi fan, and I like Ministry as well, especially like, Ministry up to and including Filth Pig to me is brilliant. After that, it starts to get a little dicey, but this was like peak Ministry and peak Fugazi intersecting. They only did, I think, 5 songs, but all 5 songs are excellent. This one in particular, though, I just cannot get enough of. I think I've lost. I think fucking Spotify would have lost count of how many times I've listened to this song. It's like something I listen to at least 2-3 times a day. Right, I'll let you hear it. What do you think of that?
That's great,
dude. It's so fucking cool. I'll just let me get to the back end of the song, because there's this really cool sequence that it builds up to, and Ian Mackay is just like repeating, "I don't want to be your villain no more." But dude, it's magic, pure magic. It's like a song it's not particularly heavy, but it's so fucking sinister. There's just something that I just like everything just comes together. Like Al Jorgensen, I find is he's a musician that can put out an incredible amount of garbage. Yeah, but then every so often everything just like syncs up, and it's just total perfection.
I love that kind of monotone beat.
Yeah,
it really fits.
Yeah. No, it's you have to check this out. Like 1988, this came out. As I said, they only ever made the one. They only ever made the one EP, but it's a real shame that they didn't do another one, because it's. I mean, they had something very good going there.
Another one for my list, definitely.
All right, let's move on to the Democrats' Guide to Rock Music. We've got pro shot video of Metallica performing Through the Never in Hamburg. Are you going to go and see them on their current tour?
Not on the current tour. I saw them back in 2009 19.
You saw them on the same tour that I saw them on, which was 2019.
Yeah, on the 2019 for the last album, on the Hardwired tour. But I don't know. I saw them at this big venue in Mannheim, Maimarktgelände. And I don't know how many people were there. I think 70, 80,000, and the sound was so shit. Really, like Metallica came on stage, and my dad was with me there. We have that kind of tradition that we always go to see Metallica together. And he was standing next to me, and we were like, I don't know, 20 meters from the stage, and we could speak to each other.
You could have a normal conversation.
Yeah.
No, it just lacks the intensity that I used to get from drunk James. That's why I will never go and watch them live again. All right. Would David Ellefson rejoin Megadeth if asked? I'll always take the call, he says. We may get to it in a second, but he has put out a new song with that Dieth band that he's in. Like, Dieth is supposed to be a death metal band, but he's got some Bon Jovi fucking sing-along that he's created, which ironically is about some young girl that he's been separated from and how he's yearning to be back with her. So it's like, you could have put out something more tone deaf if you tried. But anyways, here's one that I'm sure will make for some fun conversation. Gojira frontman expresses frustration at lack of action on climate change. It feels like we're in the middle of a nightmare. So it says here, in a new interview with Morecore TV conducted at this weekend's Rock am Ring Festival in Nürburgring, Germany, Joseph Duplantier of French metalers Gojira spoke of his frustration with the pace of collective efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and combat the effects of global climate change. Joe, who's been involved in environmental activities for many years after he and his brother, Gojira drummer Mario Duplantier, witnessed the rural area they grew up in slowly being polluted over time. The life forms and their lifestyles forced to change, said, as transcribed by blabbermouth.net, there's a frustration for sure, because I remember clearly being a teenager, pre-teenager, and seeing scientists and philosophers and thinkers blowing whistles and saying, hey, we need to change our ways right now, because in 50 years, we're going to be effed. And seeing this happening right now feels like we completely didn't listen at the time to the scientists that were talking, and we completely ignored it. It's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating. But I think that the only thing that we can do is that we must keep it up and keep the hope and try to protect a vision of the future that is not total chaos. And by projecting this thought and allowing it to happen, it's a fool's hope, because you see the oceans rising and temperature climbing, and it seems like it's all because of what we did in the last 3 decades or something. So, Professor Duplantier at the microphone, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it became just a political thing, And he's talking about pollution, but he's the one that is flying.
I was just about to say now. So he's standing on a stage, blasting out how many thousand watts through his amplifiers, not undoubtedly not powered by the sun. He's flown there by plane, or at the very least taken a bus that I assume is not electric. He goes on tour and travels all over the world. He puts out way more carbon emissions than you or I would do in a standard year. And now he wants to lecture the rest of us about climate change and about how we need to change.
I think it's just that the topic is so popular at the moment. I think they're just jumping on the train there. But why would you give an interview about that as a musician?
Well, it's the same as the musicians that gave interviews about the vaccine. I mean, this to me is like this is the one gripe I've had with a lot of the not the underground metal scene, because there's enough people that are free thinkers in the underground scene that it's not. I don't think it's as big of an issue there, but certainly with the so-called mainstream, who had a fucking opinion on everything from COVID through to the origins of COVID through to the vaccine or whatever the case may be. It's the same thing. He speaks and we're all supposed to listen. I'm not going to listen to somebody who, unless he makes the changes he's calling for, then he can go fuck himself. Because I would say this, I do believe there's climate change. I do believe we need to take better care of the environment. I've said that many, many times before. I don't believe that there is, and I know this for an absolute fact. Anybody who bothers to study this or look into it in more detail, or in detail beyond a fucking Extinction Rebellion pamphlet, will know that even though the science is settled, the science is not settled on the causes of climate change. And if you read a guy like Bjorn Lomborg, I mean, he talks about an awful lot of things that we could be doing to create a more sustainable future that the government just flatly refuses to do because there's no money in it and there's no way for them to tax us. And I feel like with climate change has become this cult that the government has co-opted, and they're using it as a means to exercise more control, a means to tax us to within a fucking inch of our lives, and ultimately put us in a position where we become digital serfs. It's feudalism where we get to work on their lands, and they give us little scraps from their table, and that's what we're supposed to be happy with.
I mean, it goes that far that maybe you heard about it, about that new law in Germany regarding your heating system in the house. And
I heard that that's very nearly brought down the government.
Yeah. So that means that from next year or from 2025, you're not allowed to build in an oil heater or a gas heater into your house. So that means if your current system fails after 2024 or 2025, you're supposed to build in a heat pump into your house. And that's just not affordable for 90% of the people. And they want to make every landlord and house owner to follow that.
Well, over a year they've jacked up the taxes so much for landlords that they've basically made buy to let it's not a profitable enterprise any longer. So a lot of landlords are selling up. So what that means is that the number of rental properties that are available are going down. The number of houses that are flooding the market are going up. At a time when the average, it used to be, I think in the early 80s, 4 times your salary would buy you a home in the UK. Now it's closer to 13 times your salary, and the UK is at the highest current average age of all time for home ownership. So I think the first time that people can actually own a home is at the age of 34. So it's less affordable to buy homes. Therefore, more people need to rent at a time when the price of rent is going up. And then these imbeciles that push for this sort of thing, and they go on about how terrible the landlords are and whatnot, they take to the streets and say it's unfair, it's capitalism. It's like, well, no, guys, it's government interference in the free market that fucks things up, and this is a great example of it.
Yes, it's the same here. Like, no one can afford, or almost no one can afford a house anymore. Because I mean, like, if I would buy a house here in my area right now, let's say 100 square meters, I would at least pay 600,000 to 700,000 for it. And I mean, like I'm in my end 30s. Like, how can I pay back the loan?
No, it's nuts, dude. And the scary thing is, I spoke to Matt about it earlier on this very episode of the podcast. I mean, there's a reckoning coming when it comes to our generation and pensions, and I think it's fucking scary. I don't think people realize quite how severe it's going to get. Like, this is why they keep pushing up the retirement age in Europe. But I mean, ultimately, these government pensions were, socialist pensions created with the idea that there's more people paying into them than there are people taking money out of them. But because of the fact that people live longer now, and because of the fact that the birth rate has declined, the population pyramid is inverted. So you've got more older people than you've got younger people. And so ultimately more older people are taking out of that pension than there's people paying into it. And so that it's going to become bankrupt.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I don't know what people are going to do, because there's so many people in the UK, from everything that I've read, that are not making provision for the future. They don't have a pension, or at the very least, their pension is negligible. They are relying on the pittance that they're going to get from the government for a living, and the government's going to get to a point where they're going to turn around and say, "I'm sorry, we don't have any more. We don't have money." Yeah,
it's going to be like I don't know, USA, South America, where there's just nothing. So you have to continue working.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, you're on the street. So.
And then again, the people are going to cry about capitalism. It's like, well, it's actually not the point whatsoever. That's not the culprit here. The culprit is government incompetence. But which is much the same as its government incompetence behind a lot of the climate disasters we're seeing. I mean, I personally think that the electric car revolution, I think, is going to, or has the potential to create one of the greatest ecological disasters of all time. Because what are they going to do with those fucking batteries when they can't recycle them?
Yeah, when there's like an end to all the metals which are built in there. I mean, like they are not,
And the slavery that mines that lithium and things like that. All these do-gooders, they don't think about that. It's like, you know that Tesla you're driving in, or that fucking Prius that you're driving in. There's kids of 7 and 8 years old, in the cobalt mines to try and or to get the materials together to build that for you.
I've seen videos about that. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And there's one like. They're just stupid, I mean, like Germany shut down the last 3 nuclear reactors, right? But now, as we don't have that reactors anymore, we are buying the electricity from France, which is produced with nuclear power. But no one's interested in
which is fucking insane, right? And it's like it's the same as. People ask, well, why did Putin get why did he feel emboldened to declare war on the Ukraine? It's because he very cleverly positioned most of Europe as being completely dependent on Russia for natural gas, and he knew that they would be screwed if he declared war on the Ukraine. Their hands would be tied in terms of what they could do.
Well, gladly that crisis is somewhat over. But I think the Russians still have ways to get rid of their gas and whatnot.
Oh, well, they're selling it to the Chinese, and the Chinese are selling it back to Europe.
Yeah.
So we're paying a markup for Russian natural gas.
Yeah, of course.
Which is fucking nuts. The good thing though is Joseph de Plantier knows how to solve all these problems. So if we turn to him. He'll be able to show us the way. What I would say is I look forward to Gojira going on tour on a sailboat. I mean, literally like a literal sailboat. and
going around,
buggy, I think,
going around by train and for the inland gigs.
Well, yeah, definitely. Oh, not by train, mate. Train is polluting. So what I expect is by skateboard
or horses.
Or horses. Horses also have carbon emissions, mate, because they
fart.
They fart, exactly. So it's the same as cows. By the way, speaking of government incompetence, I read a thing earlier today that fucking blew my mind. In Ireland, they are now looking to kill as many as 65,000 cattle to help reach their net zero target.
Really?
Yeah. Let me hold on. Let me read this. So actually, I was wrong. It's not 65,000. The article here says Ireland mulls over plan to kill 200,000 cows to fight climate change. Livestock production, primarily cows, has apparently become such a problem for the climate that government officials in Ireland are mulling over a plan to kill hundreds of thousands of cows. The Irish Mirror said a new Department of Agriculture report shows officials planned to kill 200,000 dairy cows over the next 3 years to combat climate change. We told readers in late 2022, forget oil, now they're coming for the cows, and that's apparently what the climate alarmists in Ireland are preparing to do. And then they've got a clip, or not a clip, they've got a link here to the Farming Independent. But the good thing is, that then puts massive pressure on the food supply. Then food prices go up, and then they go, "What? Where's all this inflation coming from?" And then the imbeciles take to the streets. Capitalism.
And what about all the farmers that go bankrupt then?
Oh, they don't give a shit. As long as they can hit their net zero targets and make their friends in Davos, or as long as they can fly to Davos to their private jets to tell their friends, "We saved the planet." All right, let's do one more and then we'll call it a day. Gene Simmons on Kiss's final shows. You got to have the dignity and pride to know when it's time to call it quits.
Yeah, like 30 years ago.
you have hate in your heart for Kiss, do you not?
Oh, I hate Kiss so much.
Really?
I know.
You don't like Cold Gin?
I mean, like, there's so many people that love Kiss to death, but I always found them boring. So
see, I got pretty into old stuff, not new, but like songs like Cold Gin and Deuce and stuff like those are awesome songs.
Yeah, might be, but I was really never interested in them. It's the same for Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And I just see it there.
So, right, this is the one we'll finish up on. So, Panteras Philip Anselmo says he disavows the white power flag. This is an update to a story that I read last week. So, last week, the story was that somebody had waved the Confederate flag in the audience in Bulgaria. Apparently, that was not the case. The person waved a white power flag. And Phil Anselmo said, fuck that flag, I disavow it, etc., etc. Did you read anything about that?
No, not really.
Well, I don't know what your thoughts were, but I did say at the time, and I'm looking for the because I spotted almost as soon as I had said this, or as soon as I had recorded it, I spotted a comment that I thought I would share with folks. I did say at the time that basically because of what happened in 2016, nothing short of seppuku is going to please the cancel mob. And sure enough, there's an article. So on the Metal Injection Instagram, one of the top comments from an imbecile named Cook5781. Hey, Phil, thanks for saying this, but I still think you have a lot of work to do before we let up the criticisms. You're still absolutely a positive figure for white supremacists, and it's going to take a lot more than I disavow the flag before the damage can be repaired.
Oh my God! It's whatever you do, it's wrong.
So exactly. So he said I disavow it. Fuck the flag. Get politics out of the music. You're ruining the show. He's not done anything egregious since 2016, or an incident over which he apologized as well. But that's not enough because he still has a lot of work to do. That's fucking insane, mate.
That's some keyboard warrior.
Well, not just that. It's just it's indicative of the mentality of the cancel mob. Because, like I said,
but I mean, like Anselmo doing his stiff right arm was absolutely stupid.
Of course, it was absolutely idiotic. But people do stupid things, and like I said, this is coming from the same group of people that believe that we shouldn't have any more prisons. They talk about abolishing the police and getting rid of prisons, but when somebody does something that they don't like, then they're scum and they should be shunned from society forever, no matter how many times they apologize.
But that's the world we live in. I'm quite surprised that Marduk didn't get like a massive shitstorm yet.
Well, I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward because Morgan did the right thing. They fired the guy straight away. Morgan was really unequivocal. There was no beating around the bush. He didn't say, well, he's going through a tough time personally or some shit like that. He just said it was a stupid thing to do. But I would, if I had to wager a bet, I'm going to say it's going to be pretty hard for them to get shows in, certainly certain parts of Australia.
Europe.
Certain parts of North America, Europe. That guy has caused them a real fucking headache.
Yeah, and I mean, even and that guy knew that he was playing in the band. That was,
that has been tarred and feathered by the mob.
Exactly, that's absolutely stupid. But that guy was pissed to no end. But that's not an excuse.
Well, I think it was a tense affair backstage. I'll tell you that much. I mean, can you imagine coming off stage and the guy's done that, and you've got those dudes around you? None of them are particularly friendly men. So
directly getting a fist.
Very much so. All right, my brother. Well, thank you very much for joining me for this. It was a blast catching up with you again, and we will undoubtedly speak again very soon.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. I'll keep it real on the streets, my man.
Of course, all the time.
Take care.
You too. All right,
bye. That brings us to the end of another installment of Into the Necrosphere. Thank you so much if you have stuck around until the very end. I have got one last treat in store for you, but not before I say thank you very much to my guest for his time this week. I remind you to check out all of his various musical endeavors: Werewolves, the Antichrist Imperium, ABRAMELIN, and Shotgun Messiah. Also, make sure that you show plenty of love to Necrofier and Obsidian Shrine, and be back here next Tuesday when I will be talking to the Gentlemen of Church of the Dead about their brand new record, Beyond Death. Whatever it is that you're doing, wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will leave you with the soothing sounds of the Antichrist Imperium singing you the sweetest juice. So long, everybody.
as she reaches out to touch. The heart beats deep and calm. Its breath is hot like fire. The face of an animal. Joined to her own, they become one.